All right, everybody. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started here. I see there's only two people in the room. Um, my hope is that either people join in. I'm sorry, I'm hoarse this morning. People join in either periodically or that people go back and watch this because I think, pardon me, I think there's some information in it that everybody um, could probably stand to um, understand better or maybe learn from. And I kind of want to try to move in chronological order before I show you all, if you haven't already looked, before I show you all the portfolio stuff, which is your final exam, by the way, which I'll get into. What I want to take a minute to talk about is like makeup work and grading. Okay. Now, most of you guys who are in here are probably the same people that have been attending all the live feeds, in which case, you don't have anything to worry about as far as attendance and things. But if people who aren't in here are going to go back and watch this video later, what people need to understand is if they go through Moodle and they look at their grade and they see that they have like a 0 for attendance or participation, what they need to understand is that the reason that happens is because whenever you go to an online course, completing assignments and or being in these live streams counts as your attendance. Okay. So what that means is, for example, if there was a week where we had a rough draft due and a conference, okay, what that means is like the rough draft counted for a day of attendance, the conference counted for a day of attendance. So for example, what that might mean is if you didn't turn in a rough draft and you didn't schedule a conference with me, technically you had 2 absences. Okay. Now, when we're in a face-to-face scenario and I have to cancel an entire week of class, if you miss a conference, typically it's 2 absences. Okay. Well, again, there's some adjustments that had to be made based upon the fact that we're doing all this stuff virtual, and sometimes technology just doesn't work. So I've been excusing a lot of that. Okay. Well, let me get to my point here. If you're someone who hasn't done since the 23rd of March, if you haven't done any assignments, if I haven't heard anything from you, if you haven't been doing anything in the live streams, okay, then my assumption is that you have phoned it in. My assumption is that you, for whatever reason, whether it's that you don't have internet, whether it's that you just don't want to do the class anymore, whether it's that you just don't care, that's my assumption. Because again, what you have to understand is I've been sending out emails, messages on Moodle. I've been even on here imploring people. If you are somebody who is having problems with accessibility, you need to let me know. Because otherwise, again, I assume that it's just you're done. You've quit. You're out of the class. You don't care. Because believe it or not, every semester I have students who do that. Okay. Every semester I have students who take my class starting out in you guys' case, starting out in January, and they stay on my roll, and they may come to class the first, let's say, 4 classes, and then I never see them again, and they don't drop off the roll. They don't drop the class. They just never come back. Okay. Whether that means they left the university or whether that means they just hate my class and don't want to come back, I don't know. And really, it's not my concern. My point is that there's no way for me to know that other than to give early alerts, which I've been doing, or attempting to check in with advisors, which a lot of times they don't know what's going on either. So my point is if you don't let me know during this time when, we really need to actually be increasing our amount of digital communication, that, hey, Dr. Root, I don't have working internet, but I can check my email with my phone. I know what's going on in class and I can watch the lectures, but I can't type a paper on my phone. Okay, that's fine. Because you know what? If that's the case with you, I can give you an incomplete. But if you never let me know those things, my assumption is that you've dropped off. And there's nothing else I can do. You have to understand, again, I can't fabricate grades for people. Meaning, if you don't turn in something to me, I can't give you an 80 on it because I like you as a person. I mean, if I never get anything, I have to give you the grade that you get, which is a 0. And I don't like doing that, but it has to be done. And this brings me back to the idea of attendance, and this is where I want to kind of wrap up this discussion: attendance and missed assignments. You have to understand one other thing too. This whole entire scenario is unprecedented. Okay. For those of you who either don't know what unprecedented means or don't understand what I mean when I'm using that word, what that means is this has never happened before. Okay. So there's not really any protocol in place for how to handle situations like a student saying, well, I don't have internet access, or, well, I can't do this, this, and that. We don't really have a policy in place about how to handle that. And so what I'm telling you is, even if you have a 0 right now for attendance, and you make up work that caused you to have poor attendance, I may go back in before I do your final grade and change your attendance grade. See, again, all this stuff is unprecedented. I don't know exactly how it's supposed to be handled, and I don't think most of your teachers do. So this is kind of a learning curve for all of us. Now, as far as making up work goes, as I have told people who have contacted me, I am not averse to you making up major assignments. Okay. Now, as far as like, things we did before we went virtual, meaning anything we did as an assignment before you all went on spring break, you can redo that. Meaning, like, if you didn't turn it in now, obviously, like, I don't have time because I have so many students doing this. I don't have time to regrade something you handed in. Okay. But what I'm getting at is, like, if you didn't turn anything in and you absolutely need to make it up, I will take it, but it's going to be penalized, guys. I mean, when something is due January 25th and you turn it in April 23rd, it's 3 months late. I mean, I can't give you 100 on it, even if it's perfect, which nothing is. I can't give you 100 on it. It's not fair to people who did their work on time. So what I'm telling you is, yes, any grade is better than a 0. And if you want to turn something in, I'll be generous and I'll take it, even though I probably shouldn't, but I'll take it. But you have to understand, you're not going to be getting like an 85 on it. Okay. I mean, it just can't be. And again, the bottom line reason for that is simple. And this is where I'm going to wrap up this part. The COVID stuff had nothing to do with anybody not turning something in prior to the 23rd of March. It had nothing to do with that. I mean, where I'm going with this is, the last month that we've gone virtual, okay, if you don't have internet access, or you have, your internet is dodgy, or, let's say you've gone back home, you've gone back home and you're with your parents' house and they don't have wireless internet, and, your phone, you're having to use 4G, and it costs you money to use the 4G, and your phone, acts up, or your phone moves slow. I get it. But again, one other thing you have to remember too, I'm not a psychic. So if that's an issue you're having, you need to let me know that so I can make an accommodation for you to do something that you can do to replace the work that you're not able to do. Okay. The other thing is that, again, prior to March 23rd, this wasn't an issue. Okay. Like, we were still meeting face to face, prior to spring break. So any assignment prior to spring break that you didn't turn in, you can't use this whole, accessibility thing as an excuse for not turning it in. And that's another point I'm trying to make to people is it's not the same thing. Okay. If I had an assignment that was due for you guys on April 5th, that's different. April 5th, we were doing this thing virtually. I get it. My technology, this laptop, as I have pointed out to you all, this laptop is not even 6 months old. And some of the technology Claflin recommends we use, it gets bunked up on this computer. This computer has nothing, no files on it. This computer has almost all the memory it came with on it. It's brand new. It's not used. It's not refurbished. It's brand new. Okay. So my point is I get it. Sometimes the technology doesn't work. Okay. But what I'm telling you is before spring break, you weren't wholly reliant on this. You could have come to me face to face and said, I can't turn in a paper on Moodle. Can I hand you one in on paper? Fine. I would take it on paper. Can I email it to you late? Yes, because lots of people did that. But my point is you can't use this whole COVID thing as an excuse for why you didn't turn in work that was due in February. Okay, that's where I'm going with this. Even though I will take the work late, you have to understand that's why I'm penalizing it. Okay, now, if you turn in something late that has been given beyond the 23rd of March, then I have more things to take into consideration as far as grading it goes. Okay, that's what I'm trying to let you all know is the COVID thing is not a coverall for people. I mean, it's not. The stuff that was due before spring break was due before spring break. And I even extended the due dates on that to let people turn it in up until spring break. And a lot of people still didn't. So I'm just trying to let you know this stuff is stuff that, until you receive a final grade in this class, please don't email me because you're looking at Moodle and you see your grade looks a certain way, because I don't know what I'm at liberty to go back in and do with things like attendance yet. I don't know. This is something that none of us have had to do before. So what I've been asking you all from the beginning is be patient. Okay. I mean, I think I've been being pretty patient with you guys, turning stuff in late, doing things, doing live streams just about every day when most people aren't in here, trying to help you guys stay on task. And that's part of my job. And all I'm asking you to do is give me a little bit of latitude as far as trying to figure out exactly what is going on with this and how things are supposed to be handled. That way, when I do it and I do turn in a final grade, then if you're unhappy with it or you have questions, then come to me and ask me. Okay, because I'm sure the appeal procedure or us figuring something out is going to be much different than it would be during a conventional semester where all Claflin's rules were very streamlined. They were all very regimented. Okay, well, during this time, everything is very fluid, and you have to understand that's not my fault. That's not my doing. I don't like this stuff any more than you all do, but it's a means to an end. We kind of have to do it. By the way, the rumor is fall is going to be online too. I don't know that that's true. That's the rumor I've heard. So if this is something that, you guys are like, oh, dear Lord, online everything, the word I'm hearing is that's probably going to be how fall is too, if you haven't heard that. So again, don't go around telling everybody, Dr. Root said we're going to be online. I said, it's what I've heard. Okay, that's the rumor. Okay. So I think that explains things. For the most part, I'm just appealing to you guys' good nature. Just trust me to handle things in a fair way. I think I've been very fair thus far. Just trust me not to stick it to you. That's not my job. That's not what I want to do. Okay. I want everybody to pass the class. Everybody. I know that some people are not going to. I know that. I mean, I know that when I look down my grade sheet right now. I mean, nothing short of a miracle. There are going to be some people who don't pass, and there's not anything I can do about that. But the bulk of you, and I obviously I've been looking more at the grades the last few days. The bulk of you are still very much in a position to pass this class if you're not already passing it. So on that note, what I wanted to do was guide you over to, guide you over to the Moodle page. Okay. And what you're going to see down the left-hand side, you're going to see final exam portfolio. Okay. That's where you're going to click. These two things are going to come up. Okay. First is the description, and that's where I want to start. Okay. And it's going to open up down here for you as like a Word file. So you're going to open up your Word file. Okay. And I'm going to try to blow this up for you as much as I can. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see all this. Okay. So basically what your portfolio is it replaces what would be a final exam. Okay. You guys, if I remember correctly, your final exam period, I believe, is May the 1st from 8 to 10 a.m. Okay. So what that means is your portfolio is due May 1st by 10 a.m. Okay. I'm not sure I put up a Dropbox for it yet because there's no way anybody's done with it. So, but it will be there. Okay. So basically, instead of us meeting in class and giving, which we wouldn't be able to do anyway, but instead of us giving you like an in-class writing to do, what we do the portfolio for basically is to kind of solidify the idea in your mind that writing is a process. Okay. And the reason that how we do that, I'm going to explain in a minute. Okay. So your portfolio is going to contain the following things. One is just a cover sheet. Okay. Cover sheet, essentially, I mean, I can open up a Word doc here real quick just to show you kind of what it would look like. Typically, you know, it starts in the center, kind of starts like midway down, you know. And again, I'll look at the order. I don't care so much about the order as long as the stuff is on there. Professor, class, and date. Okay. So, okay, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, let's not do that. That'll confuse people. Okay. So your cover sheet would look something like this. Okay. Now, obviously, like if you want to be, you know, nifty or whatever about it, you know, you could use some cool font. Okay. Yeah, that changed it. Okay. I mean, let's see. I'm just trying to do this to see if there's a cool font that I can use. If you want to look like the A-Team, if you all have ever watched the old show, the A-Team, you know, whatever. I don't care. My point is as long as the info's on there, that's all you need. Okay. Now get out of that. Okay. A table of contents. Okay. All a table of contents is this. All right. You're going to know down here what goes in the portfolio. All your table of contents is going to look like. Again, I'll go ahead and I may also end up posting a portfolio that if I have any. See, the big problem with me doing that is most of my portfolios that I had saved are on my office computer. And obviously, you know, I don't really want to go all the way over to campus and log on there, you know, and do that stuff. So I'll see if I can find one that a student turned in that was good. But like, it might look something like this, like table of contents. And again, this is just a rough example. Okay. I don't want you all thinking like this is perfect, what it should look like. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, so I'm just going to do this. Not personal statement. We'll call it like a maybe observations. Actually, let me do one other thing too, real quick. Okay, it would look something like this. All right. What I'm saying is, it doesn't have to be anything, lovely. It's going to give you whatever's in here in the page number that goes along with it. Okay. Let me go back here and make sure nobody has any questions. Okay. Oh, please don't let it be so. Jayla, I don't understand what you mean. Good morning, but please don't let it be so. Like I said, I check back here, to make sure nobody has any questions. If you have a question, ask while I'm going, and that way I can go periodically check back here and make sure that I'm getting you, I'm answering you guys, because this is the time to ask a question. Because this is, okay, gotcha. I missed the context of it. Yeah, Jayla, again, I'm not saying that that's accurate. I'm saying that's the rumor. That's the rumor that's going around. But just to maybe put your mind at ease, there have been rumors I've heard on TV. I'm not trying to go off track here. Some people are saying that this sort of self-imposed quarantine may not end until 2022. I find that a little hard to believe. Maybe I'm just being a skeptical. CJ, I'm going to get to that. Maybe I'm just being a little skeptical. I just don't see it being 2022. I watched something, again, I'm not trying to divert from the topic, just to maybe kind of put you guys' mind at ease. I watched an interview from some, maybe like a week ago or so, and it was somebody who was either with the CDC or somebody who was a health expert, and his opinion was probably at the latest, it was going to be maybe July or August, and things would pretty well be back to normal. So I'm trying to give you guys some optimism here too. I mean, clearly we can't all lock ourselves in our houses for years on end. I mean, it's not healthy. It's not normal. We're all going to go insane like Jack Nicholson did in The Shining. If you've ever seen The Shining, you know what I'm talking about. I have put on 6 pounds, and I've weighed the same amount for the last 3 years. So something's got to give is my point. I can't, put on 6 pounds in a month for the next 2 years, or else I'm going to be in awfully bad shape. Okay. So getting back to it, CJ, in response sort of to your question, I am actually going to take that off of there. I don't even know why that's still up there. Okay. So a signed and dated copy of a statement of authenticity. Okay. So if I go back here, what you're going to see, I already have that on here for you. Okay. All the statement of authenticity is this document right here. And all you'll do is you can just type your name in here. You know, I've had some people who are real fancy. They actually would like sign their name and then print this out and then scan it and then put it back in. You don't have to do that. I mean, I guess if you want to, because you feel like it's more professional to sign something. But I mean, if you just want it to look like, you know, a signature, I mean, just do this and it's fine with me. Again, I'm more concerned about what's going into the portfolio than how it looks. Okay. Oops. Something like that. Okay. That's all you need to do. And I mean, I guess this part wouldn't, yeah, I guess would be printed. I'm sorry. So we can just change that there. Okay. I guess that should be printed, but as long as I can read it, you could put a signature in both. I don't care. As long, I mean, if you're using anything typeface, unless you're using one of those like ones that's like code, you know, I'm not going to bother putting it in. Whatever. Okay. I mean, this has to be in there though, and I'm going to explain why. If you read this blurb, and I'll blow it up, all of the documents contained in this portfolio are my own work and my own intellectual property. To the best of my knowledge, I have not plagiarized or taken anyone else's ideas without properly acknowledging them as the source of information contained in any of the documents aforementioned. Okay. Yes, that sounds like very much legal speak. And I believe I actually created this wording. I don't know that every other teacher's looks like this, but here's my point why I have this on here. Okay. Basically what it's you confirming to me and to anyone else who looks at this is that this work is yours and that you didn't take it from anyone else, at least knowingly. Okay. For example, like let's say I said something in a lecture and you incorporate it into something you've written. I don't care about that. Because what I mean is maybe you absorbed that, just not even thinking about it. But if I look at your paper and I can tell it's been like what we call patch written or plagiarized, and I go on to Moodle, or I'm sorry, and I go on to Google and I type in a phrase and it is absolutely verbatim what you have, that means you plagiarized and you know you did. Okay. And so that means that there are, again, we're in a little bit of a gray area because of the whole COVID thing, but there are certain punitive measures that are supposed to be taken against people who plagiarize. And what I'm telling you right now is just please don't do that, because in one way or another, it's going to affect your grade. Okay. So just don't plagiarize. It's not worth it. And at the risk of bragging, I've been doing this so long, guys, that I have an eagle eye. If you plagiarize something, you can pretty well bet I'm going to find it. Okay. And it's just not worth doing. Okay. It's just not. Better to do your own work and maybe not get a B on it than it is to plagiarize it, have me find it, and have you fail it. Okay. Just words of advice there. Now, let me go back, make sure nobody had any questions real quick. Okay, back to your question, CJ. I'm trying to be thorough here, okay? That's why I'm being kind of roundabout. Yes, CJ, the reason for you using stuff that you've already written is, again, to illustrate the process of writing. So what you're going to do is this, okay? The first file I'm going to have you put in there, a substantive revision to your personal statement utilizing instructor feedback, okay? Now, what you're going to see in parentheses, include the original draft with comments. Okay. So what that means is this. When you include your revised version, okay, it should be clean. It should look like a version that you're going to turn into me for a grade. A lot of times students, what they do is they cut and paste what I did originally with them, and they turn in one that has my comments on it. Okay. You still do need to include the original one that you turned in that has my comments, but the revision should be clean. The revision should look like something you're turning in for the first time. Okay. And I'll explain to you why that is. Okay. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, well, why do you need both? Okay. Some of you probably won't have to do a lot of work to the revision. I'm going to put somebody on the spot here. Caleb, I think if I remember correctly, you pop into my mind as being, it was either Caleb or CJ, somebody whose name started with a C. Your original personal statement was really strong. Okay. If you get like a 90 on something from me, then what that means is like, you're not going to have to do a whole lot of revising to it. Okay. So what I'm getting at is like, your revision may end up looking an awful lot like the original one you turned in. Conversely, some people turned in versions of this that were like Fs. Clearly, you're going to have to go back and fix things. Okay. That's why you include that original version so that I can look at that version and then go back and look at your revision and see if you actually made changes. What did you do to it? Okay. Again, it's a process. If you just turn in the same revision of what you already handed in to me, your grade is not going to improve any. Okay. What I'm saying is like, if you got a 60 on the original one, and then you try to turn in one that is exactly the same, why would you think you'd do any better on it? I'm going to remember when I look at things, wow, okay, I know I would have corrected that the first time around. And then if I have the feedback there, I can look and go, okay, well, there's a whole sentence here that's wrong, and I fixed it for them, and they didn't even bother to go back and fix it, even though I fixed it for them. So again, it allows me the ability to access the original document to see what you've done to the new document. Okay, let me see if anybody has any questions. And like I said, I'm going to periodically check back on this screen to see if you guys have any questions about this stuff. I'm pretty thorough with how I explain things, I think. So I don't think this is going to be too confusing. But let me also state one more thing too. You're going to see that there's a footnote here. Okay. The footnote says this. If you did not submit an original draft, sorry, there's a hair or something on there. If you did not submit an original draft of either paper, then obviously you can't submit that original draft component. In its place, I would like a written explanation as to why you did not complete the assignment. Okay, so what that means is this. If you didn't turn in an original, then you can't turn in this part. So you got to remember, each thing you're posting really has two components to it. The new version and the old version. Well, where I'm going with this is this. Some people didn't hand in original versions of these things. So what that means is you can't hand this in with my feedback on it. You don't have it because you didn't turn anything in. Well, if you didn't do that, okay, then what I'm asking you to do in its place is write me, let's say something like 2 paragraphs about why you couldn't turn that assignment in on time or why you didn't. Okay. Again, I'm still allowing people to turn this stuff in. So if you didn't turn one in originally, you still can. Okay. But you can only do it up to a certain point. Like Friday is the absolute latest that I can take stuff. You have to remember, guys. And I know I've told you this before, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. This semester, I was teaching 5 classes. They gave me an additional class. And unfortunately, you guys' class is not the only one where people didn't turn work in, and now they realize that the doo-doo has hit the fan and that they need to turn work in. So what I'm getting at is across 5 classes, I have students doing this. If I was just teaching you guys class, I would say, you know what, you guys are freshmen, you guys can turn this stuff into me up until, the middle of exam week. But I can't do that because I have so much other stuff that is on my plate especially because I teach a lot of graduating seniors, and their grades have to be turned in early, which means I have to do a lot of grading before exam week even ends. Okay, so, you know, again, I will do what I can as far as being thorough with feedback and stuff, but, you know, again, man, I've you know, I've got so many irons in the fire right now with everything going on that I can only do what I can do. Okay. And that's not me making an excuse. I think you guys can tell that I've been thorough with giving you feedback all semester long. I'll do what I can do, but I can only do what I can do. Secondly, a substantive revision to your summary of John Young's article on the things they carried, utilizing my feedback. Again, include the original draft. Okay. So, the reason I included these things, okay, and not the research paper that you guys submitted today, mostly it's because this. One, that research paper would require a lot more going back and doing this. It would take you longer because it's a longer work, okay? And for two, I also know that it's going to take me a couple days to grade those, assuming everybody turned them in. And I know several people did because my Moodle alerts me to that. So I want to give you guys as much time as possible to work on this stuff, okay? That's why I'm giving you these assignments that came from the first half of the class to include in the portfolio. And again, if you didn't turn these things in, you can still turn them in, but don't turn them into me, you know, April 30th and say, well, go give me the feedback now, because I'm not going to be able to do that. Okay. I'm telling you right now, like Friday of this week is about the deadline for turning in work that you had not turned in to this point, because I just don't have time to do it. Okay. CJ, if you got 100 on something, you still would need to include the original, you would still need to include the original draft that I commented on, but no, you wouldn't probably need to do any revising. The way that you ended up with 100 probably was that I curved things. If you ended up with 100 off the top, then maybe you're the one I remembered who did really well. And again, I'm not trying to reveal anything about your grades or your business, but you still need to include both. Okay, you understand what I mean? You still need to include my original comments, and you still need to include a clean version. Okay, even if it's the same. I mean, okay, yeah. And anything I might have put in there as like a comment for something that you could have done better, fix it. Okay. Yeah. The only reason I said that, CJ, is because I don't usually give hundreds. Hundreds, unless it's on like just based on a completion thing where like, you know, like an in-class writing or something. A lot of times I'll give hundreds for those just because you were there and you did it. But with papers, very rarely do I give a straight 100 to people, because that would make it perfect. And I mean, I wouldn't give my own writing 100, and I do it for a living. So, yeah. So you would want to go back and make sure you did at least probably something to it. And again, but with a 92, it's not going to take you very long to do that. Finally, the only new thing that you're going to produce for this, a self-evaluation, at least 500 words, in which you analyze how well you met your personal goals for the course. Okay. And again, now this is one I kind of had to change. If your goals change, describe what they were and discuss how you met them. And then I put in here, other topics can include your approach to the papers, your writing process, giving, receiving, and attending to feedback, and the entire experience from beginning draft to finished product. You might also address how the change from face-to-face on-ground instruction to virtual/distance learning impacted your learning curve. See, that's something that in the past we've never had. Well, what one of the things about this is it's not a course evaluation. Okay. Remember, it's a self-evaluation. What I mean by that is assuming you guys were students here in the fall, they're not doing it for this semester for obvious reasons. But if you all were students here in the fall, you should remember that at the end of the semester, you either usually it was through online, you basically got to evaluate your teacher. Okay. That's not what this is. I mean, if you want to write something in there about, something we did in class, or you want to, mention something you liked or disliked about my class, that's totally fine with me. It's not going to hurt my feelings. That's fine. But what I mean is, this is not a 500-word rating of my class. Okay, that's not the goal of what this is. Remember, part of what you're being graded on is, are you following the instructions? And what that means is, you shouldn't be writing 500 words about how you don't like Dr. Root's ties. Dr. Root's voice is always hoarse because it's 9:30 in the morning. Dr. Root's handwriting on the dry erase board was really bad, but occasionally he had a funny joke. It's not, what I'm getting at is, it's not about me. Okay. I mean, you can, like I said, I would expect it would be normal for you to mention me in there in some way. That's fine. But what I'm telling you is, this is not about me. Okay. It's about you. And if it involves me a little bit here and there, that's fine. And again, like I said, if you want to write in there something like, something he could have done better, especially when we were still in class, I don't think it's fair for you to evaluate what I've been doing as far as trying to teach, virtually, because this is brand new for all of us. Like I've never tried to do this. So I'm not sure that's fair to do. But if there was something I did when we were on ground that helped you, or something you didn't like, that's fine with me. You're not, like I said, it's not going to affect your grade if you say, I think Dr. Root could have done blah, 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 blah better or something. It's, but again, the entire thing should not be about me. It should mostly be about you and how the class functioned for you, what you got from it. Do you see it helping you down the road? Is it a complete waste of time class? Did Dr. Root do something that, helped you? Did he do something that you felt like could have been done better? Those types of things are fine. But the bulk of it's supposed to be about you. All right. I'll go back here and make sure there aren't any questions. Oh, Jayla, I would try to get the work back to you as soon as I could, but because you guys' portfolio isn't due until the 1st of May, I would say you'd probably get it back at the latest, like the middle of next week. I would say you'd get it back with at least a couple days to work on it. You have to remember that both these assignments are pretty short. So, again, it more comes down to the fact that I have one class with like 12 students in it, and I think probably 10 of them are seniors, and they have their final paper is due on like, I think Monday. Well, what that means is if I have to have their grades in by Thursday, that comes first. I have to grade those seniors and grade there's a certain sort of like hierarchy or pecking order. And when it comes to people turning in stuff that, they didn't turn in when it was due, that falls relatively low on my pecking order. The stuff that's in immediate need is at the top of it. Okay. But you would get it back in time to be able to do some things to it. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't tell you to turn something into me and then not give you feedback. I mean, that would be really mean of me to do. Okay. But at the same time, if you turn something in and you got like a 50 on it, that's not the same thing as submitting something to me for the first time. If you got a 50 on something you handed in, what you need to do is fix it, make it a lot better, put it in the portfolio, and if I look at it in the portfolio and I see you significantly improved it, I have been known to go back and up the original grade that you got on something. Okay. But as far as you turning in something to me that you've already submitted and wanting me to edit it again, that's not really what I'm allowing people to do. I'm allowing people to turn stuff in that was never turned in so that they can get a grade on it. Okay. That's basically, I want to make sure that's clarified because again, there's a pecking order for me in what I need to do. And if I have people in class that have zeros on stuff, those people need to turn stuff in so that they can get a grade. If you turn something in and you didn't do well on it, you fall relatively low in my pecking order because at least you have a grade. Oh no, CJ, I don't want you to highlight anything you change in the new drafts. The new drafts should be totally clean. They shouldn't. You can, if you want to, in like, I'm going to go back to this. If you want to write about in this 500 word thing, maybe something you changed when you went back and worked on a paper that you revised and why you changed it, you can talk about it there. Like if something I said, was an epiphany for you, where the light switch came on, you can talk about that there. But as far as the draft that you turn in, it should be completely clean. It should look like a brand new paper. Because what I will do is I will go back and look at the original draft that I commented on, and then I will look at your new draft and see what you did to it. Okay? Because again, that also shows me your level of work ethic too. Because if you, again, like now you got a 92, I'm using you as an example. You got a 92. Okay? And I'm assuming that was on the personal statement. Okay? Excuse me, I got to take a drink. I'm assuming that's on the personal statement. Okay. What I'm getting at here is obviously if you got a 92 on that original draft, you probably are not going to have to change a whole lot. So what I can do is I can look at that original and I can go back and flip back and, well, not flip back and forth, but I can look back and forth and say, okay, right here was the one thing that he did wrong that I commented on. Did he change it? And if I go back and you just left it the same, then I know that, okay, well, then this is not going to be better than a 92 because he didn't go back and do any of the edits. Conversely, let's say you got a 52 on it and you include that original draft and there's just comment down the line. And I go back and I look at the clean draft that you put in there and it looks exactly like the one that I already graded. Then again, what I can look at also is just saying, well, clearly, this person doesn't care. It's not a lack of ability. Sometimes people don't understand an assignment, or maybe they're just not gifted writers, or they're out of practice. You turn something in, you get a 70 on it. Okay. But you don't know you get a 70 on it until I grade it. Then you get it back and you look at the comments and go, oh, okay. I understand now why I got a 70 on it. It doesn't necessarily mean you didn't try on it, or that you didn't do the work, or that you didn't give it your best effort. What it means is that, you just, for whatever reason, you didn't hit a home run on it. Okay. That's fine. But what I'm saying is now's your chance to go back and make it more like closer to a home run than that original draft was. That's why this actually, believe it or not, it serves a twofold purpose, because I am very big, and this is probably about where I'm going to wrap up. I am very big on work ethic. I think you guys can probably tell that about me from things I've said to you in class, and also the way that I grew up. As I told you before, growing up not having much, my parents always pretty much told me, if you're willing to put in the legwork at something, you can succeed at it. And a lot of times with you guys, it's not that you don't put in the legwork, it's that you're not trained writers. I understand that. You don't know sometimes what you're doing that well. Well, now you have my feedback and it's directing you about what to do. Now you should understand why I do that. Now you should understand why I'm so thorough, because now you have everything you need there. If you turned in an assignment, you have everything you need there to make the paper an A. But it comes down to your work ethic. Are you willing to do that or not? And like I said, because most of you have turned in both of these assignments and you have comments on them, you now have, this is the 23rd, which is Thursday. You now have 8 days to fix what amounts to being probably 3 pages of writing with my comments. If you're willing to put in the work, there's no reason why you can't make these A-worthy papers. There's just no reason for why you couldn't. And so, again, my final words on this are this. Okay, I'm going to go back to it. For one, follow the directions. Okay, what that means is put this stuff in order. Like, don't put your table of contents at the end. Make sure everything in here is in here. And also, I'm going to tell you this much right now. This is kind of a good way to think about the way the portfolio is going to get graded. Okay. It's basically got 5 parts. Revision, including the original. Revision, including the original. Self-eval. Okay. Like, this needs to be here, but obviously, like, this is not being graded. Okay. Like, grading you for signing it, it's not the SAT. You don't get points for putting your name on there. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you how to do this in case you don't know how. The portfolio is uploaded as one PDF file. Don't upload like 5 or 6 Word documents. I know usually I tell you, give me things in a Word document. I'm not going to be commenting on these. Okay. I'm just going to be reading them and grading them. Upload it as one PDF file. Okay. So what does that mean? What that means is this. Okay. Let me do this. Sorry, my mouse doesn't work on that side. Okay. Oops. Okay, actually I can do this. This is from another class. Okay. What I'm getting at is everything you do should be on a different page. Okay. So, like, you know, your statement of authenticity would be, you know, your first page. Then your scholarship essay and personal statement, the revised one, would be like your second page. The original draft would be like the third page. The summary revised would be like your fourth page. The original one would be the fifth page. Observations on the class would probably be like page 6 and page 7. Okay. What I'm getting at is, don't just turn in a bunch of Word documents to me. They need to be all in one file. Okay. And this is how you do that. You make sure they're all on a different page. Then when you go to save it, you go to save as. Okay. You go right here. Now, again, this may look different on your computer. Go to PDF. And let's see. Okay. I want to save it on my desktop. Oh, wow. Whatever. I don't even know. I've never done this on this computer. Okay. But you see how it came out? That came out like a PDF file. That's all you have to do. All you have to do is just save it as a PDF file. Don't save it as a Word file. Okay. So that way it's just one big document for me. I don't have to open up a bunch of different things. It's all there. It's all streamlined. It looks nice. And, the only thing, again, I can tell you from personal experience about, the portfolio is not something that's going to fry your brain. Okay. Like doing this is not going to be something that when you get done taking it, it will be like when you took your SATs or whatever, and you walked out of the room and you felt like, somebody had taken a Q-tip and stabbed you in the brain through your ear with it. Okay. It's not that kind of thing, but it does take work, and work takes time. So what I'm telling you is this: don't, on the night of the 30th, which is my brother's birthday, on the night of the 30th, don't start working on this. You guys have like 8 days. Start working on it as soon as you can. And I know, and I think that's good advice, because I think a lot of you guys work piecemeal, if you understand what that means. Like, what I mean is, I think a lot of you guys don't necessarily, sit down and do, and I'm not saying you should. I don't think a lot of you necessarily sit down and you do all you're going to do at once and then you save it. I think a lot of you do a little bit and then you go do something else, and then you come back and you do a little bit. That's fine. Just be sure you're giving yourself enough time to get the stuff done. Because again, at the end of the day, this is still a composition class. And what that means is, at the end of the day, I'm still having to grade the writing. Okay. So if the writing is not improved over the original draft that you did poorly on, guess what? Your grade is not going to improve. Okay. You have to show some improvement. Okay. And again, that's where the work ethic thing comes in. I can't make you all do this stuff. I can't make you follow the directions. And every single semester, I have people who don't do these things correctly, and they lose points for it. Like, for example, what you have to think about, and I'm not saying this is how I would necessarily break it down, but what you have to think about is this. Again, I told you, basically, as far as what's being graded, this thing has 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, I'm going to grade them all evenly and say they're all worth 20%. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm probably not going to do that, because you just including a draft is not really, probably shouldn't be worth 20%. But the point I'm making is this: every semester, I have students who just turn in, this. Every semester, I have people who just turn in the revisions and they don't turn in the originals. Well, again, not only does that mean you're not following the directions, what it also means is you're really making it harder for me to grade it, because the problem is that I don't have my original comments there to look at to gauge how much revision you did to your new one. So please follow the directions, not only for your own grade, but it helps me too. Okay. And I would also suggest, particularly any of you who have composition issues, most of you who do, I have told you in your papers that you have some fundamental composition problems. Some of them, for example, some of you guys, and I'm not saying all of you, some of you have problems with like possessives. Some of you have problems with paragraphing. A lot of you have problems with paragraphing. Some of you have problems with like subject verb agreement. You know, instead of saying like they are good, they write they is good. Okay, like that's subject verb agreement. What I'm getting at is if you're somebody who has some fundamental composition problems, I would advise you within the next 8 days to contact the Writing Center to get help. Because if you need the help, there's no reason you shouldn't take it. You have 8 days. I mean, you have plenty of time to get help. And to my knowledge, they're still, you know, doing online stuff. The point I'm making is this right here is the only new thing really that's going into that portfolio. Okay? Because what you have to remember is basically the other stuff. What you have to remember is that like these other 2 revisions, you basically already have these done. You just need to go back and fix them. So really, I mean, that's not new. That's going back and fixing something. This is the only new thing you're writing in here. And so the reason I'm stressing this, and this is where I'm going to wrap up, the only reason I'm stressing this is because you have to remember that you don't have the benefit of my having already commented on this. So what that means is, by and large, the only thing I can grade this on is the way it's written. Because how am I supposed to grade you based on your own self-evaluation? Oh, you're wrong. I mean, what I'm saying is I can't grade you based on your, you know, your personal thoughts, opinions, goals. I can't grade that. But I have to, but I can grade the writing. And if the writing isn't good, then it's going to impact this. Okay. So what I'm telling you is if you're somebody who thinks maybe your writing is not quite what it should be or where it should be, I would advise you to reach out to the Writing Center for help on that. Okay. So that's where I'm going to wrap up. My throat is killing me. And what I will say is, in the meantime, just to wrap up, if there is something that you did not turn in across the course of the semester, even if it was before we went virtual, get it to me by like tomorrow at 5 p.m. or else I'm not going to take it. Okay. And I'm being generous to do that. Number 2, be sure that you turn it in on time, because it's still a timed assignment. I mean, it's still going to have a Dropbox and it's still due at a certain time. Be sure you turn it in on time. Okay. If you have some sort of extenuating circumstances, whether you're in the room right now or whether you may be watching this later, you need to let me know. Because again, I'm not a psychic. If there's some reason that you can't do this, you need to let me know. Okay. The other thing I will say is, as sort of my parting words, especially when we were in class, you guys were especially when people showed up, you guys were a really nice class, and I really enjoyed teaching it. I hope that you got something from something I did. I realize this online stuff, and pardon my language, I realize that it pretty much sucks. I know that, and it does for us too. I am not. It's not to say I'm not technologically, savvy enough to do this stuff. It's just that I like seeing people face to face. I feel like I communicate better that way, and I'm sorry that this happened to you all. It's really unfair. That you're paying for an education where you're sitting in your house. It's not fair. But my honest opinion, and this is where I'll wrap up. My honest opinion is, even if, fall classes go online, people will get better at doing this stuff. There will be more things put into order, that we know how it is supposed to work. and things will be smoother. Things will be better. We'll all be better. You know, we'll get through all this. And you know, speaking as somebody who's taught at 6 different schools, you Claflin guys are the you know, easily the most durable students that I've taught. And so I know that if anybody can get through this, you guys can. And again, all I ask from you all is please wait until I do a final grade for you to either complain or to question me about a grade. Don't trust Moodle, because a lot of times what I put in Moodle, at least before I turn in final grades, is not what your grade will be. Okay. So on that note, I thank you, particularly those of you who came to these live feeds. I know they're not exciting. I know learning how to write paragraphs is not exciting. I get that. As I've told you guys, I am not a composition person. Okay. I'm not. I'd be lying to you if I told you I was. But you ended up with me. I ended up with you all. I hope that, you know, in your mind, we made the best of it. And at the end of the day, like I said, I hope that you feel like you're better in some way for having taken my class. So at least one thing, you will always, especially those of you who came to live feeds, you will always remember me, because you will always, you know, 20 years from now, you will be probably telling your kids or someone you know, I remember when that coronavirus came through and I had this guy, Dr. Root, as my teacher. I remember. Oh man, I remember those days. We were stuck in our house and we couldn't go do nothing. And people are going to look at you and go, you're full of crap. But you'll remember about the days when we sat around our homes with nothing to do for weeks on end, maybe months on end. So on that note, again, thank you all. Good luck with your exams. Please take care of yourselves. My prayers are with you all and your families. I pray that you're well. I pray that none of you have experienced any difficulties personally or family-wise from this whole thing. And I would love it if we see each other again in the fall. But if we don't, you know, don't hesitate to drop me an email or a line sometime and let me know how you're doing. I always like to know, you know, what my former students are up to, and just make sure they're, you know, especially if they're still in school, that they're doing well and that they're, you know, they're getting through what they need to do. All right. So on that note, again, thanks guys. Appreciate you. And I'll be seeing you down the road at some point, I'm sure. Okay. Take care.